Call this order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if anybody who's going to give testimony today, if you just stay standing where you are and raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you all swear from the testimony you give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. For those who haven't been here before, my name is Drew Smith. I'm the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate for the city. I'm not an employee of the city. I'm an attorney in private practice, practicing in local government law for just over 20 years now. My role in these proceedings is to be an independent trier of fact. The order that each case will be heard is the code enforcement officer will present their testimony and evidence they want me to receive. When they're done, any respondent on that case will have an opportunity to ask the code enforcement officer questions. If you have no questions for the code enforcement officer, you can also present to me any testimony and evidence you would like me to receive. When I've heard all the testimony, seen all the evidence, I will render a verbal ruling today. That will be followed in the mail by my written order. And with that, clerk, you may call the first case.
Case number 2023-1071, William Garcia, owner, location of violation 5051 Plymouth Turtle Circle, St. Cloud, Florida.
Good afternoon, Pam Neal, Community Compliance Officer. I am presenting this case for the property located at 5051 Plymouth Turtle Circle. This time I would like to enter into evidence the following items: copy of the email sent to the owner, copy of the courtesy notice sent to the owner, copy of the notice violation sent to the owner to both addresses, copy of the notice violation sent by certified mail to the owner, copy of the notice violation with the new date sent to the owner to both addresses, copy of the statement of violation notice of hearing sent by certified mail to the owner, a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, evidence of mailings, copy of the deed to the property, copy of the code sections in violation, copy of the costs incurred if the special magistrate finds the respondent in violation, in the amount of $204.70. And the respondent is not here.
Thank you.
On June 7th, 2023, I noticed the business tax receipt license and the certificate of use license are both delinquent as of September 30th, 2022 for the business Aim High Transfer LLC at this location. On June 7th, Catherine, Code Compliance Administrative Assistant, sent the owner an email with directions on how to renew the licenses. On June 29th, Catherine called the owner, but there was no answer and she was not able to leave a message. On June 30th, a courtesy notice was sent to the owner. On July 13th, I checked and both licenses were still delinquent. On July 13th, a notice violation was sent to the owner to both addresses. On July 28th, I checked and both addresses were still delinquent. On July 28th, I called the owner and he asked if I could give him until August 10th, 2023. On August 14th, I checked and both licenses were still delinquent. On August 14th, a notice violation was sent by certified mail to the owner. On August 31st, I checked. Both licenses were still delinquent. On September 1st, a notice violation with the new date was sent to the owner to both addresses. On September 19th, I checked and both licenses were still delinquent. On September 19th, a statement of violation notice of hearing was sent by certified mail to the owner. On October 2nd, I checked and both licenses were still delinquent. On October 6th, I checked and both licenses are now active.
What was the date that they were? What was that date?
October 6th. It is the city's recommendation that the respondent be found in violation of allowing a business to operate without the proper licenses at this location. The city would like to also recover the costs incurred in bringing the case before the special magistrate in the amount of $204.70 to be paid within 7 days of the written order of the magistrate as well. And that concludes my presentation.
Based on the evidence testimony received, I'll find in favor of the city, find that the respondent was in violation for allowing the business to operate without proper licensure at the location. Find that the respondent came into compliance as of October 6th. Order the respondent to pay the administrative costs incurred by the city in the amount of $204.70. That amount will be due within 7 days of the date of my written order.
Thank you.
Case number 2023-1488, Katma Home LLC, owner, location of violation, 0 Brown Chapel Road, St. Cloud, Florida. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon,
Those are the,
Alex Miller, Community Compliance Officer for the City of St. Cloud. I am presenting this case for the property located at 0 Brown Chapel Road. At this time, I would like to enter into evidence the following items: copy of the notice of violation, copy of the notice of violation sent by certified mail, copy of the notice of violation sent by regular mail, posted at the property in City Hall, copy of the statement of violation and notice of hearing sent by certified mail, posted at the property in City Hall, copy of the PowerPoint presentation, affidavit of postings, evidence of mailings, copy of the code sections in violation, and a copy of the deed to the property, and a copy of the cost incurred. The magistrate finds the respondent in violation in the amount of $263.90, and the respondent is here. On August 3rd, 2023, code enforcement received a complaint about the high grass and weeds at this location. Upon arrival, I observed the grass and weeds to be high and in violation. A notice of violation was sent by regular mail to the owner and the agent to correct the violation within 7 working days. On August 16, a re-inspection was performed and verified that the violation was not corrected. On August 17, a notice of violation was sent by certified mail to the owner and agent for the violation to be corrected. Certified mail was delivered on August 23rd. On September 1st, and again on September 13th, re-inspections were performed and verified that the property was still in violation. I contacted a person in charge of the application for the site development with the city and advised him of the violation. I tried to request the owner's phone number, but he did not provide me with the information. I advised that the grass needs to be cut and allow some more time for the violation to be corrected. On September 20th, a re-inspection was performed and verified that the property was still in violation. A notice of violation was sent by regular mail to the owner and agent, posted the property in City Hall, and 10 pictures were taken.
Is the property that we're talking about in this case, is it undeveloped?
Yes, sir. On October 2nd, a re-inspection was performed and verified that the violation was not corrected, and 5 pictures were taken. Sorry. On October 4th, a statement of violation and notice of hearing was sent by certified mail to the owner and agent, posted the property in City Hall, created an affidavit of posted, and 3 photos were taken. On October 10, after receiving a request for a compliance inspection, I verified that on October 12, the property was in compliance, and 3 pictures were taken. It is the city's recommendation that the respondent be found in violation of allowing the grass and weeds to be over the height of 8 inches and not correcting the violation by the time specified. The city would also request that the cost incurred in bringing this case before the magistrate in the amount of $263.90 to be paid within 7 days of the written order by the special magistrate. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. I have no questions for you. Respondent, any questions for the code enforcement officer?
No, I do not have any.
Do you have anything you'd like to say? That you can come on up to the podium. Anything you'd like to show or tell me?
I
If
don't
you'd
have.
start with your name for the record, please.
My name is Burhan.
Okay.
I represent the owner. We are actually hired by Kotma. And we're in contract with a couple subcontractors to do the job, like 2 or 3 times. And
When you
we
say do
actually-
the job, what do you mean?
To cut the lawn.
The mowing, okay.
Yes, we did actually order them to do so, but we found out late that it wasn't done on time, so I apologize for that. So I actually, I was the one that called Miss Alex, and I was able to find somebody else to get it done. I think it was October 10th, like she stated. The reason also this took so long is the owner of the properties are living out of the country, and they're telling me that they haven't been getting the mails. I mean, they were getting the mails probably, but they haven't opened them up. So we got in the picture pretty late, so I apologize for that, but we're in compliance
We
right now.
appreciate what you've done.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
And you're going to keep it cut?
Yes, sir, we already hired, we're keeping the same company, and since they came through, they're gonna be doing it.
Okay, because based on the evidence testimony, I'm going to find in favor of the city, find there was a violation. We'll order the respondent to pay the costs incurred in prosecuting the case, the amount of $263.90. That amount will be due within 7 days from the date of my order. But the significance that I want you to hear and be able to relay back is if it happens again, even if it's cured, I can impose fines from the first day code enforcement observes it. the
Yes,
next time.
sir.
They can be $500 a day. So you don't want to be in a repeat violation situation. So in order to avoid that, make sure that it stays.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Case number 2023-1491, 2017-1 IH Borrower LP owner, location of violation 2412 Pine Chase Circle, St. Cloud, Florida.
Good afternoon, Alex Miller, Community Compliance Officer for the City of St. Cloud. I'm presenting this case for the property located at 2412 Pine Chase Circle. At this time, I would like to enter into evidence the following items: copy of the notice of violation, copy of the notice of violation sent by certified mail, copy of the statement of violation and notice of hearing sent by certified mail, posted at the property and City Hall, copy of the PowerPoint presentation, affidavit of postings, evidence of mailings, copy of the code sections in violation, a copy of the deed to the property, and a copy of the cost incurred if the magistrate finds the respondent in violation in the amount of $254.94, and the respondent is not here.
Thank you.
On August 7, 2023, Code Enforcement received a complaint from the Homeowners Association about the property having an ongoing issue with the high grass and weeds. Upon arrival, I observed the grass and weeds to be high in some areas, but was especially high in the rear yard. A notice of violation was sent by regular mail to the owner, agent, and a copy to the tenant to correct the violation within 7 working days. On August 16, a reinspection was performed and verified that the violation was not corrected. 8 pictures were taken. On August 17, a notice of violation, on August 17, a notice of violation was sent by certified mail to the owner and agent to correct the violation. Certified mail was delivered on August 22nd. On September 8th, a reinspection was performed and verified that the property was still in violation. 7 pictures were taken.
Is it just along the wall that they're having a problem keeping the grass
No,
cut?
it
or is
was all in the back. I have a picture where you can see it was mostly in the back, but around the perimeter, but it was mostly in the backyard behind the house. On September 11th, a statement of violation and notice of hearing was sent by certified mail to the owner and agent, posted the property in City Hall, created an affidavit of posting, and 6 photos were taken. You can see it was mostly in the rear yard.
with the lawnmower and the
Yes, sir.
photo.
Yeah. On October 2nd, after receiving a request for compliance inspection from the owner, I verified that the violation was corrected and 2 photos were taken.
That's 10/16, the date of correction compliance.
Yes, sir. It is the city's recommendation that the respondent be found in violation of allowing the grass and weeds to be over the height of 8 inches and of correcting the violation by the time specified. The city would also request that the cost incurred in bringing this case before the magistrate in the amount of $254.90 to be paid within 7 days of the written order by the special magistrate. And this concludes my presentation.
You said no respondent is present.
No, sir.
Based on the evidence testimony received, I'll find in favor of the city, find that the respondent was in violation for allowing high grass and weeds on the subject property, find that the respondent brought that into compliance on October 16th, 2023, which was after the time set the notice of violation for compliance. Based on that, we'll order the respondent to pay the administrative costs incurred by the city in the amount of $254.90. That amount will be due within 7 days from the date of my written order.
Case number 2023-1520, Victor Duran Jr. and Sheila Duran, owner. Location of violation, 906 Montana Avenue, St. Cloud, Florida.
Good afternoon, Melissa Howes, Community Compliance Supervisor, presenting on behalf of April Bennett, Community Compliance Officer for the City of St. Cloud. I am presenting the case for the property located at 906 Montana Avenue. At this time, I would like to enter into evidence a copy of the following items. Copy of the notice of violation sent by regular mail. Copy of the notice of violation sent by certified mail posted on the property and City Hall. Copy of the statement of violation and notice of hearing sent by certified mail posted on the property and City Hall. Copy of the PowerPoint presentation, affidavit of postings, evidence of mailings, the code sections in violation of, and a copy of the deed to the property, and a copy of the costs incurred if the magistrate finds the respondent in violation in the amount of $260.70, and the respondent is not here.
Thank you. Before you start, I have one question for you. Have you personally observed the property?
Yes,
Okay. And are all the photographs that you present to me today, are they consistent with your own observations of the property?
better than, yes.
But they're consistent with your
Yes, they're
observations? Okay.
consistent, yes. No, you'll see why. Okay. On August 10th, after receiving a complaint in reference to the high grass and weeds and an unpermitted and unmaintained pool at this location, an inspection was completed. Officer Bennett was able to verify the validity of the complaint, and 5 photographs were taken. So she's taken this through the fence, as you can see. That was the pool water itself. That was the pool water.
Can you go back to that one? I'm having a hard time
I'm sorry.
making heads or tails of what I'm looking at.
Okay, so where the arrow is the pool, the top of the pool, and then the water is green right behind it. And then the blue above it is
Got it.
the pool
I
again.
thought that was grass.
Oh,
Got it.
well, there's grass there too.
No, but yeah, the green of the pool almost matches the green of the grass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and that's where I guess she took the photographs from. On August 14th, Officer Bennett sent out a notice of violation by regular mail to the property owner. On August 22nd, a reinspection was performed, and Officer Bennett was able to verify that the property was not in compliance. The high grass and weeds in the rear yard was very high. The pool water was not being maintained, and verified that there was no application for a permit on file. 5 more photographs were taken. On August 23rd, Officer Bennett sent out a notice of violation by certified mail. She posted the property in City Hall, did an affidavit of posting, and took 1 photo. On August 26th, the certified mail was picked up from the postal facility. On September 1st, a reinspection was performed, and Officer Bennett was able to verify that the property was not in compliance. The high grass and weeds in the rear yard was still high. There was not an application for the permit on file. Officer Bennett was not able to verify the pool water during this inspection. 5 photographs were taken.
We had any communication from the respondent?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can you go back 2 photos, please? I
Yep.
just want to take it, that one that's through the fence, I want. So I see the high grass, can I see the pool in this photo? No? I
Not
think
in
you
this
said
one.
she wasn't able to verify, so I probably can't, okay,
Let me see.
you can go forward.
Probably not.
Yeah, you had said that she was unable to verify the pool on, I think, on this
Yeah.
inspection, so.
Okay. Okay, that was on the 1st. So this should be the next one. On September 5th, a reinspection was performed, and Officer Bennett was able to verify that the pool water was in an unmaintained and unsanitary condition, and the high grass and weeds were high. 5 photographs were taken. So there's the pool again. On September 25th, a reinspection was performed, and Officer Bennett was able to verify that the grass and weeds in the rear yard was still high. There was not an application for permit on file, and she was not able to verify the pool water during this inspection. 2 photographs were taken.
Do you know if the property is inhabited?
I don't believe so. The utilities are on. On September 27th, Officer Bennett performed a reinspection to verify the pool water. The water was not as green this time, so it appears chemicals was added. However, the water was still murky and not in compliance. On October 16th, I completed a reinspection on behalf of Officer Bennett, and I was able to verify that the pool is still in the rear of the property. No permit is on file or obtained. The high grass and weeds on the entire property has been cut except for around the pool and under the trampoline. The property is not in compliance. Where's my photos? Uh-oh, am I going the wrong way? Hang on here.
Am I seeing correctly that through, as
There's my photos.
code
Okay.
enforcement has investigated this, the front yard has been mowed?
The front yard was mowed, I
Do we know
guess.
who's mowing the front yard?
No, but the complaint was coming about the rear yard.
No, I
No.
just was curious, why the front's being mowed and the rear was not, was
Oh,
what I
that
was trying
happens
to
quite a
solve in
bit.
my head.
If you ask the other officers, it happens a lot, especially if there's a fence. But when I went and I asked the neighbor to walk on his property, I was surprised because the majority of the wooden fence was taken down. So my photographs
Is there still
are,
water in that pool?
I can see it. I cannot see the water. I even tried to zoom in, and I cannot see the water. So,
This one? I think we have a
you're here
respondent
for
here for
this
this one.
case? You are? Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah, I was here before, but the officer in the front told me that this is a third floor, so I didn't have access.
Okay. Here, can I give him his packet,
Please do.
please? So basically, the entire grass was cut except for around the pool and under the trampoline. There is still no permit on file for the pool. I don't know if they're going to remove it. But based on all of her evidence and my testimony, it's the city's recommendation that the respondent be found in violation of having high grass and weeds over a height of 8 inches, a pool to be installed without proper permitting, and the pool water to remain in an unsanitary condition and not corrected by the time specified. The city would like to recommend that the rest of the weeds be cut and either a permit obtained or removed within 10 working days, and to be able to verify the pool water as well, being clean and clear in a sanitary condition within 10 working days. What dates did you guys use?
November 1.
Okay, so by November 1st, please. The city would also request that the cost incurred in bringing the case before the magistrate in the amount of $260.70 be paid within 7 days of the written order by the special magistrate. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Duran? Yes. You can come on up. Before I swear you in and give you the podium, do you have any questions for the code enforcement officer?
Are you April?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe I was, I had called somebody.
Come on up. Let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I
And
had
your
called-
name for the clerk, please?
I'm sorry, I'm Victor Duran Jr.
You're good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, I had called because I was in the hospital for 14 days from the week of Labor Day till September 14th, and I've been at home. I just started working on Monday. I did speak to somebody.
Do you reside at this property?
Yes, I am. That is my property. I had called somebody and spoke with somebody and told them that nobody was at home available to do the work. I had to hire a company to cut the grass, which they've been ongoing cutting the grass. I tried to clean the pool myself, which I should have not been doing because I was at home for the last couple of weeks. I had surgery on my stomach, so I tried to clean the pool out. I cleaned it out, and I tried to pump it on myself, but I guess the hose that I had in the vacuum wasn't strong enough for me to pump it out to the front of the house. I did talk to that lady and told her that I was gonna get rid of the pool. It's gonna be 3 years on December that I'll be in that property. I've never had an issue with that pool. I didn't know I needed a permit for it. This is the first time. I believe it's because my fence went down on the last hurricane, and the people around me are able
All
to
of a sudden
see
people
my
can see it.
property. Yes,
Right,
because
yes.
before that I didn't have no issues or anything. I did have a code enforcement before for my grass, but nobody ever mentioned anything about the pool until now. I am trying with the pool situation right now. The pool is kind of clear. I've been putting Clorox, but I just can't pump the water out of it because I'm going to get rid of the pool. I'm not going to go ahead and slice the pool to get rid of the water because of the properties around me, so I'm trying to do it the right way, but I just don't have the right pump to pump that water out to the front of my house.
Do you
'cause it's
know
overall-
when the pool will be, when do you have a plan for when it will be removed from the property?
I tried it 2 weeks ago and I couldn't get it out. So got to see if my company might be able to borrow me a pump, a commercial pump that I could dump in there for me to pump that water out to the front. Is the only way I could go about. There's no other way I could get rid of that water but to pump it out to the front. Once I pump that water out, I'm tumbling down that pool and I'm throwing it out. So
Well, code enforcement has asked for a compliance date of November 1st. Will you be able to get it done by November 1st?
probably, hopefully, yeah. So tomorrow I'll ask my company if I could get that pump delivered to the office and see if maybe this weekend I could pump that water out.
You can give him a little more time if you need.
Claudia, do you know what would,
15th is essentially 4 weeks.
I mean, I don't want to let it go too long, sir, just because of the fact there is no barrier around the pool.
Yes, I
After
tried.
the-
You know, you don't want to get
November
somebody to.
15th, after the 1st.
I'm looking for something between that. November, they said November 1st, which was 10 days. What's the
So-
Monday?
The
7th?
6th.
There's the 6th is the Monday?
Mhm.
I'm gonna give until November 6th. That gives him an extra weekend in case he needs it to get it done.
Okay. Even if I get the water out and the pool is down, is that okay? Or do I have to get completely the
Should be
pool-
removed from the property
The whole pool. Okay. All right.
by November 6th. So
Okay.
if you get it down by November 5th or November 4th, that
No,
gives you
yeah.
time to get it off of
Yeah,
the
get it out,
property.
yes, sir.
Don't wait until the last minute. That's what I'm telling you. So,
No, yes,
but
understood.
that giving you at least another weekend to
Thank you,
get it done
appreciate that.
to work on it. How about the grass? Are you able to get that same
Yeah,
time
the
period to get
grass,
the rest of the grass cut, all of the grass cut, all the weeds cut by November 6th?
Yes, the grass has been cut from that time I called from the hospital. I hired a company and they've been every week on my company cutting the grass.
Can you pull up your most recent of the grass so you can see the areas, because you may need to have a conversation with the company that's taking care of it for you.
So the only thing we have left is obviously when you remove the pool.
Yeah, I'll
You're-
cut that
you're
over
gonna
on the
have all
pool, yeah.
those weeds around the pool.
Yeah, I trimmed that down. I noticed they couldn't. I told them that they could get as much as they can around the pool, and they
were
did.
probably worried about
But
that,
yeah, but what I did trim whatever was excess on top of the pool myself. So
So it was originally?
originally all that grass was over the pole, so I trimmed all that down,
So
yes.
by November 6th, can you get, if the pool's down, you can get the rest of those weeds
Yes.
and under the trampoline?
Yes, I'll get the company to come in and cut that over. And the trampoline, I guess they just don't move trampolines out here, the companies, to get the grass cut under the trampolines, because I seen it over the other houses that the grass is over under the trampoline as well, so,
You could probably spray some Roundup or something under it.
oh, yeah.
But if that grass is high, they're gonna tell me that you didn't comply with my orders, so it's important to get
Okay.
that grass cut.
All right.
My last question for you, and you're welcome to tell me anything else you want me to hear, but my last question for you, the city has asked for you to pay administrative costs in the amount of $260.70 since it's not in compliance. I'm compelled to enter that award. Typically, I will require that to be paid within 7 days. I hear that you just had surgery. I
Yes.
assume there may be some financial hardships, and if you need more time to pay that amount, I'm willing to listen to how much time you need.
Yes, that would be great, because like I said, I just started working on Monday.
60 days. 60 days give you enough
Yeah,
time
that's enough
to
time, yes.
do that without, because, and
Yes,
again,
sir.
the other thing is, we'd much rather see the grass mowed and the pool removed, so I want you to
Yes.
put those dollars toward that first, so 60
No,
days.
yes, definitely.
Okay. So I will enter that order also. The respondent shall pay the administrative cost of $260.70, but shall have 60 days from my written order to do that.
Okay.
And you will receive a written order of everything that I'm telling you today in the mail, so you'll have all of this in writing from me
Okay,
also.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else?
No, sir.
Anything else from code enforcement?
No.
No? Good. Thank you very much for coming. I'm glad you made it.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Case number 2023-1634, Rhonda Sue Bobo, owner, location of violation, 905 Whistler Court, St. Cloud, Florida.
Good afternoon, Pam Neal, Community Compliance Officer. I am presenting this case for the property located at 905 Whistler Court. At this time, I would like to enter into evidence the following items: copy of the courtesy notice sent to the owner, copy of the notice violation sent by certified mail to the owner, copy of the statement of violation, notice of hearing sent by certified mail to the owner, copy of the PowerPoint presentation, evidence of mailings, copy of the deed to the property, copy of the code sections in violation, copy of the costs incurred if the special magistrate finds a respondent in violation in the amount of $289.70, and the respondent is here.
Thank you.
On September 11th, 2023, I received a complaint about the property being unsightly, the grass and weeds, and pigs at this location. On September 11th, I went to the location to verify the complaint. On September 12th, a courtesy notice was sent to the owner. On September 14th, Animal Control called for me to meet them at the property concerning the pigs. 6 photos were taken. On September 19th, I was in the area and noticed a pig walking around the property, and I took 1 photo. On September 21st, a reinspection was performed, the property was still in violation, and I took 2 photos. On September 22nd, a notice violation was sent by certified mail to the owner and posted on the property and City Hall, and I took 1 photo. On October 3rd, a reinspection was performed. The property was still in violation of the fence maintenance and the pigs. I took 4 photos. On October 4th, a statement of violation, notice of hearing was sent by certified mail to the owner and posted on the property and City Hall, and I took 1 photo. On October 6th, the owner called and stated that the pigs had been removed. On October 6th, I went to the property to verify, and the pigs had been removed. On October 16th, the reinspection was performed, and the property was still in violation of the fence maintenance. I took 2 photos. And the owner did tell me that she was going to be getting a new fence. It takes a while for the contractors, and I'm sure she'll talk to you about that. It is the city's recommendation that the respondent being found in violation of allowing the lack of maintenance on the wood fence and the keeping of pigs at this location and to have the fence repaired or replaced by November 1st, 2023, or pay a fine of $100 a day until compliance is met. The city would like to also recover the costs incurred in bringing the case before the special magistrate in the amount of $289.70 to be paid within 7 days of the written order of the magistrate as well, and that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with your name for the record, please.
Rhonda Bobo.
Thank you. Go ahead. Do you have any questions for the code enforcement officer before you go straight into your?
No, she was very
You can go
nice,
ahead.
yes. Well, first of all, I was in the hospital when all this happened, and my grandson is the one who got the pigs, and that's what prompted everyone to, come to the neighborhood, and then the fence and all that good stuff. But prior to that, I do have an estimate here to do my fence. I just got my loan approved on the 11th, and they're probably going to do it, but probably not till the end of the year. So I can't comply by the November 1st.
When you say the end of the year, what is their schedule for getting it done?
I don't know. I haven't contacted them. I just got the thing from the,
Well, you said that
loan.
they're not gonna be able to do it to the end of the year. Where do you get that from?
well, I don't know. They're going to have to order the supplies. I haven't even contacted them
What
again.
kind of fence is it?
Wood,
Okay, so
yeah.
it's,
But I don't know if I'm
sport
going with
fence.
wood again, but yeah.
okay.
But I had gotten the estimate, then I was out of the country, then I came back, then I was in the hospital. And during all of these notices as well, I didn't get any of the certified mail. I don't know if you can show that I didn't receive that. But also the notice that she put on the lawn, the first one, I never saw it because my grandson took it up. He said, that's not nice for people to see that or, whatever. And I didn't know until I had spoken to her and she told me that there was one prior to. And then I asked about it and found out that he had removed it. So I never saw it.
Got it.
So I have my hospital notification, the fence
Take your word
estimate.
for all of that. There's
Okay.
nothing about nothing that causes me to question any testimony you've given. You don't have to document it for me. Right now, I'm focused on getting it in compliance. I agree. I think November 1 is not gonna be enough time for it to get it done. Can you show me a picture of the current state of the fence?
Oh,
I
it's
found
right.
one in my packet, but we can all be looking at the same thing.
That's one side, and that's the other side.
How far does this fence run all around the perimeter of the back, or is it just a partial fence?
I can't
where it
see
needs to
all
be-
the way in the back, but it runs,
So as the portion that you're aware needs to be corrected is just this stretch of fence?
both sides.
Both sides, so it's a fair amount of fence. I'm confident the fence contractor can get it out there before the end of the year. 30 days is the middle of, can I see the calendar again in November? And then we get into Thanksgiving there. So I'm gonna give a compliance date for the fence of November 20th.
November
That puts
20th.
puts you right before the holidays, because once we get into the holidays, then contractors do start doing less
That's why I
work.
said the end of the year, because I don't know what they're,
But you're going to have an order from me, and so what I want you to do, as soon as you get that order, and
Give it to
you
them.
probably after day, go ahead and call them, try to get on their schedule at the earliest date they can get it done.
Okay.
But once you get that order in hand from me, I also want you to call them and say, look, I have an order from the magistrate of the city that I need you to, that I want you to see, so that
Mm-hmm. Okay.
you see it has to be done by this date, or I'm gonna have to pay fines.
Okay.
Okay? So that lets you put a little bit of leverage on them, that it's
Right.
very important that they get
Right.
it done timely.
Okay.
So I think that's a fair amount of time for the fence, and frankly, if they call you back and they tell you they can't have it done by November 20th, you need to find another contractor, because there are contractors out there that can have a fence up. Probably,
30
there's some
days.
out there that have a fence up this weekend. I know they're busy,
Right,
but if they tell you they can't, you need to find another contractor.
okay.
So you heard me on the last case. The violations are there. They weren't corrected. I hear what you're saying on, the sign didn't give you the notices, but at the same time, you're the property owner, you're responsible. So I am going to order the cost be paid, but just as you heard on the last case, I'm flexible on the timing of that, especially here where I know you're going to have to pay a contractor to fix that fence. So you heard me offer 60 days in the last one. How does the amount of cost is $289.70. Does 60 days enough time for you to come up with that without creating a financial hardship on you?
Yes, no
Okay,
problem.
then I'm going to order 60 days on that. If that compliance date is not met, the fine that I will consider imposition of is $100 per day. So important to make sure that that work gets done, okay?
Right. Perfect.
Anything else from code enforcement or the respondent?
No,
Okay, thank you both.
thank you.
And can we call Mr. Kipp first so he didn't have to wait for the other one?
Yes, we certainly can. If you want to call the case.
Case number 2022-1843, Great House Pros, Inc., owner, repeat violation, location of violation, 1022 Carolina Avenue, St. Cloud, Florida.
Jack Morrison for the city. Mr. Kipp is here on behalf of respondent. Just to bring the magistrate up to date, the case was heard in May of this year. Compliance, it doesn't appear correct.
I remember the case.
But the compliance date is listed as April of this year on my form proposed resolution. But in any event, the respondent would like to have a forgiveness of the accrued fine, $20,500, costs incurred $256.70. City manager is not in agreement, and so
Was there any conversation of an alternative amount?
I'm not aware of that. I know that,
Mr. Kipp.
I know,
You can come up if you have something relevant to tell me.
So basically, the city manager asked for my recommendation prior to her making her recommendation. This would be the third reduction that we have done for the gentleman. The first one was a $57,000 fine that the council reduced to $1,000. The second one was a $23,000 fine that we reduced at 10%. So it was basically $2,300. And now here we are again at the third one.
Understood.
And so my recommendation is there was no reduction on this one.
Mr. Kipp, coming up. Name for the record, please. And the first thing I want to hear is, how are we back again on this violation?
Name for the record is Aubrey. I marvel that we are here again.
What happened?
So, one modest, humble correction. My first lien reduction was from 23,000 to 10% of that. That was for Wisconsin, 500 Wisconsin Avenue. We finished construction on that, beautified that property. We've never been in violation with that again. My second reduction was for this property. It exceeded the 50,000, so I ended up having to go before Mayor Blackwell and the city council. I left that there in tears. I didn't know what was going to happen, but they reduced that one to 1,000 for this property for a repair alteration addition. That was, I want to say July, August of last year. As we finished up Wisconsin Avenue, we moved on to this property. We started doing the repair, and the permit requires we repair any, termite structural damage, anything like that on the property, and alongside with the addition. This was a permit B21-1390, but for whatever that's worth. September 26, as we were repairing the foundation of the property to get ready for the addition, the braces inside of the house started swaying and the house fell. I was actually under the house when the house fell. So by the grace of God, my son came, he cut me out from it, and we had already started kind of repairing the foundation of the home. So what we attempted to do was just restore what we had already started and restore the part of the home that had collapsed. Alex gave me a call beginning of October and said, Mr. Kipp, I just saw your guys there. You've exceeded the scope of your permit. And I said, well, Alex, I was repairing it. I explained to her exactly what happened. She said, well, listen, this will be a repeat violation for you in this chapter, and you just went before the city before. I said, Alex, I said, trust me, I was only trying to repair it. You know, I didn't demolish the building, anything like that. So I was actually a little teary-eyed when Alex and I were talking because of all that I'd gone through, been before you guys 3 times, been before the city council. So Alex, I said, well, Alex, what do you want me to do? She said, you need to file an amendment. She said, I'm gonna give you 7 days to get an amendment. She said, get this in order, I'll work with you. And Alex is here, she can testify. I said, okay. I said, well, I don't know what an amendment is supposed to look like. I said, so I'll place a call to the building official, Bob Deatherage. We had worked on Wisconsin before, and see what Bob would have me to do. I think that was October 6th that Alex and I spoke. Bob was out of the office. I called him immediately after I got off the phone with her. He was out of the office. By the time he returned my call, he set up an appointment. We walked the property on October 18th. Told him exactly what happened. Bob said, well, Mr. Kipp, I'll work with you. File an amendment to this existing permit. He told me exactly what he wanted the architect to outline for the part of the house that fell that we had restored. And so I submitted that to the architect. November, I put it here, November 8th, I emailed the building department, and I kind of included it in this, I included kind of all the email threads. I emailed the amendment as Bob instructed me, along with the architect. The architect charged me another $3,000 to do the amendment. I was like, whatever, I want to make sure that I'm in compliance, and I trembled to be in a situation where I would have to stand before a magistrate again. So I moved very, very diligently. When I filed and sent the email, I checked the status of the permit, and the permit said revoked. I said, So I waited a few days, and I called the building department. I said, I'm just checking on the status. I filed for an amendment for a permit. They said, okay, no problem. We'll put you on hold. So it's like, Mr. Kipp, your permit has been revoked because you exceeded the scope of the permit. I said, well, no, I actually spoke with Bob, and he told me to file an amendment. So they said, okay, hold on. We'll check on it. We'll get back with you. A couple days passed. So I emailed on November 18th, because I'm like, you know, Alex and I spoke on October 6th. It's November 18th now. So I emailed and I called again. And when I called, I put on hold again. City was really short-staffed at that time. So I actually called Bob direct. And I said, Bob, this is Aubrey. We walked 1022 Carolina. This is the house that fell on me. And he said, yes, sir, I'm Mr. Kipp. I remember you. I said, I actually submitted the amendment that you recommended, but the permit is revoked. He said, He said, hold on. He pulled up the permit, and he said, Mr. Kipp, don't worry about it. I'll get this back into pending review status for you so that we can review this, and I'll try and get you out of here. I said, thank God. I literally was like, you know, thank God. So I got a call from one of the building department staff. I believe it was Lucy. This I'm not sure of. I believe it was Lucy, because I remember being in Jamaica. I was doing some charity work in Jamaica, and I got the call, and she said, well, Mr. Kipp, unfortunately, you're going to have to file a new permit because this has exceeded the permit. I said, but that can't be. I spoke with Bob. She said, yes, I spoke with Bob also, but after we reviewed it, we're going to need you to file a new permit. I said, well, I'm in Jamaica now. Can I schedule a meeting? Maybe we can talk through it. She said, okay, well, no problem. What day will be good with you? So we end up having the meeting. I sat with Bob and I'm sorry, I don't remember. Melissa. I sat with Bob and Melissa and kind of went through the whole thing again.
When was that?
Okay.
When was that? What was the date of that meeting?
December 2nd, okay, right, that's right. So, Melissa and Bob stepped through with me why I would be required to have a new permit. They explained to me I wouldn't have any impact fees. I was terrified of the impact fees, especially after just the cost and the labor of this house for over the last 2 years coming out of the pandemic. So I said, no problem. After we got that cleared, we got that reconciled, I talked with Bob again just regarding what I would need for new construction. I've done only alterations up until this point. So I went back to the architect again. I paid another set of fees to the architect. We're going into Thanksgiving, Christmas holiday. He said, Mr. Kipp, it'll be 6 weeks. I called another architect. They're like, if we could look at it, it'd be 10 weeks. So I got the plans back right after the first of the year. I submitted them immediately. I think Alex could testify that I was emailing her along the way, just letting her know what the status is. I got the notice of violation, I want to say I got it in mail January 24th for this. And my heart sunk, you know, Drew. I'm like, oh no. I was like, I'm saying, Lord, I've really strive, you know, not to be, as they would say, that guy, or to be a nuisance to the community. The reason we started even Great House is because I really love the grid and I love the city, and we wanted to keep some of the original character of the city and kind of restore some of these older homes. So when I got the notice, I emailed Alex just to acknowledge I got the notice, let her know where the status of everything was. And then if you look at the history of the permit, I was relentless on the permit for the new construction from the day we submitted it, and, you know, just turning around. Say again?
When did you submit the application for the permit? Not the modification, but for the new permit?
For the new permit, that would have been, if I could grab my phone.
By all means.
Okay, so January 27th would have been when it was accepted, but it was sitting in the building department email box for a little bit. And then there was a cutover to the new system whereby you upload the plans. So then even after we emailed it, we got notice back, no, you guys need to upload it. So I'm working with a GC. He has to upload it from his account, and that was, by the time I think it showed in the system, would have been the 27th, but we probably were working a couple weeks before there, once I got the new plan signed and sealed.
And then once it was submitted, were there any notes or reviews, or were there any resubmissions that were required?
Yes, sir. There were quite a few.
What were the issues that were raised in those requirements for resubmissions?
Some of them, they wanted to verify, because the part of the house that we restored was on the original footprint. So the original footprint had setbacks that were not what I guess way more lenient than what the new setbacks would be. Sure. So I worked with zoning on that. They made a special exception, and then I worked with Ralph Keefe.
Did you have to go through a process for that special exception?
No, sir. No, sir.
Just an administrative process?
No, sir. It was just more administrative.
Okay.
The other holdup is that Bob and Lucy had affirmed that I wouldn't need a demolition permit because I didn't demolish the house. But in the end, the administrative department said that I would end up needing one for compliance. So they sent me a blank application. They filled it out. I just signed it. They said, Mr. Kipp, you don't have to fill out all the stuff with OUC and cable and et cetera. Just sign this. We're just going to need this for compliance purposes. So I signed that. And then that sat for a little while because I'm chomping at the bit every 2 days, I'm calling the building department. I even offered to bring Starbucks, which I think is a no-no. That would be like considered bribery. I'm like, I'll bring you guys Starbucks. We want to get this approved. But in the end of the day, one of the admins called me as I called really, just pleading for help. And she said, you know what, Mr. Kip, I see it's been sitting for a while. She said, let me go talk with Bob. Bob ended up approving the demolition permit, which was what was holding up the permit in administrative review. So there's a long list of comments back and forth, and then once you address them, the timer starts all over again with the
So
the
by
review.
April 25th, you have the permit issued, April 25th, it looks like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me get you to step to the side. I will give the microphone back to you, but I want to ask some questions. Code Enforcement Officer Miller. So first question I have, you've heard Mr. Kipp go through kind of times and meetings and his engagement. Is there anything about his testimony that's not, from your perspective, not truthful?
Well, yes, I want to explain a little bit what happened.
I want to answer that question first. Has he testified to anything that doesn't line up with your recollection of events?
Some statements are not correct with my.
Which ones?
So he was advised back when he submitted the permit on January 27 after it was put in queue that he will need to obtain a demolition permit. I forwarded the email to I have an email that was sent to him saying that he will need to apply for a demolition permit. And also, he was advised several times that the application he submitted was incomplete because some of the contractors, the drywall contractor was not listed. He needed to register the mechanical, the roofing. And again, he was advised that he needed to apply for the demolition permit. So it was mostly on the part of the lack of his misinformation and not provided the documentation that he needed in order to obtain the permit.
Was he working with the city to try to resolve this issue as frequent? Was he contacting the city as frequently and working as diligently as his testimony says that he was?
No,
Okay. How so?
because when I observed the violation and I called Mr. Aubrey and I informed that he was in violation because he demolished the property, he did not. Because I was not informed on any, he did not contact me at all. When I went by the property on October 18, I noticed that he kept doing the work after.
What was the work going? What was the work that you were observing?
So I have a picture of the demolition, and then by October 18, he was already building more stuff at the property after.
Remind me, with the violation, though, whether the violation was related just to the demolition, or was the violation broader than the demolition work?
No, the violation was because he exceeded the scope of work and he had no.
What work exceeded the scope of the permit? That's why I need a
So
recollection.
he got a permit for repairs and alterations, inside repairs and alterations. So when he demolished the property or the property fell, he should have stopped and went and obtained the proper permits to start with the new construction. My understanding is that he was confused as far as because he thought he was going to have to pay impact fees, and that's what he was afraid of.
Heard that.
And so that's the reason why he didn't actually.
Was avoiding demolition, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, understood. But I want to go back to the last question I asked. So, but what triggered this last notice of violation was the demolition.
Correct, because he demolished the property, yes, sir.
Was it an intentional demolition or was it an accidental demolition?
That I don't know, sir. But
Mr. Kipp, was it an intentional or accidental demolition? At the podium, please.
You and I spoke.
Up the podium, please.
Okay, sure.
And answer me, don't talk to her.
Sure, yes, sir. It was categorically not.
Tell me how it happened.
So I sent pictures with the lien request, and I can provide those to you. I think I have a couple of them. As we're restoring these older houses, they're on pier slab foundation. And I have video where the whole right side of the crawl space was termite eaten. We didn't even know until we started pulling back. So section at a time, you brace, and then you repair the rim joist. You brace, you repair the rim joist. So we continued to brace and repair the rim joist. As I was doing the final repair so we can tie everything in, my son is in the trailer, and I'm shooting in the last strap. That's when we start hearing creak, 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 creak. And I look up, and as I look up, the whole house came down on the back of my, the roof came back down on my back. So I'm in there praying because I'm like, Lord, I didn't even know if I could walk. I couldn't feel anything. So when I'm in there, I'm just going to tell the testimony. The Lord spoke to me in the words of Psalm 34. He said, He keepeth all of his bones, not one of them is broken. And so it's at that point, I start to feel my legs and my hands, and my son started running to the front, and he's calling on the name of the Lord. And I said, son, Caleb, I said, I'm okay. I said, but you're going to have to cut me out. So he cut me out of the property, and I'm feeling my legs. And I'm like, Lord, thank you. And then, so everything is flashing before me. The magistrate, the code enforcement, standing before Mayor Blackwell. Even Mayor Blackwell's words were in my ears as I'm standing out looking at the house. I just walked from under where he said, I think we ought to show this young man some grace. And I'm saying, Lord, I thank you for your grace. It hurt me that the house collapsed because we believe in saving these historic and older homes in St. Cloud. It pains me when I see any house in St. Cloud demolished. So we did not demolish it. And I explained this to Alex when she said, you exceeded the permit and you demolished the house. I said, Alex, no, the house fell on me. To where, as we got in discussion, I said, Alex, okay, what would you like me to do? She said, you need to get an amendment filed. I'm going to give you 7 days to do it. Get it in order.
Yeah, okay. Let me think for a second, because I don't know who I'm going to ask the next question of. Mr. Cobb, if you'll step to one side, don't go far. Code Enforcement Officer Miller, so this initial conversation about he needs to address the permit, and then his testimony has been that he reached out to building department to figure out what he needed to do. It seems like from his testimony, it'd be hard for somebody to make up the detail in those conversations. Is that the fact that he was corresponding with building department, is that also consistent with your understanding of the
As far as
file?
I know, on October 18, when I went by the property and I called Mr. Bob Detrich, he told me that he has not received a call from Mr. Skip. So then is when he asked me to put a red tag on the property to put a stop work order, and that's what I did on that day because.
And then after October 18th?
Then after October 18, I have not been back to the property because.
Were you aware of there being conversations between the respondent and
yes,
the
sir.
building department? So he
Yes,
was having conversations in fairly short order after you notified him of there being an issue on the property, which is October 6th.
After October. Yeah, they had a meeting on December 2nd.
Yeah, December 2nd, there was a big meeting,
schedule.
but I know that. But it sounds like in October, there was correspondence going on because the December 2nd meeting, if I understand correctly, that was the point at which, no, you're not going to be able to amend this permit. You're going to have to file for a new permit. The conversation was starting to shift from modification of existing to
Okay.
new permit.
All right, yes, sir.
Am I understanding correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm just, yeah, I need to say one thing.
All right, tell me what you want to say, and I'm going to ask
And
questions.
then I'm done. So as a contractor, and you're pulling a permit for residential repairs and alterations, you would never get into the depth that Mr. Aubrey got into in order for a building to collapse on you. For a permit for residential repairs and alterations, that's where the exceeding the scope of the work came into. Because a permit for residential repairs and alterations, did you even have to have any building plans for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. What, for what? What exactly?
Sure.
Okay.
On permit B2113.
For the residential repairs and alterations?
Which is permit B211390.
Okay.
We had to submit a set of plans that showed how we would strap and secure the structure for the existing building. This is on record.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had to submit plans for the addition because we were doing 1,000 square foot addition.
That I understand.
Right, so my experience from 500 Wisconsin, which was one of the lien reductions we had, is that it's insufficient just to do the addition. You also have to bring the existing building up to code with strapping from the roof all the way down to the foundation. And that's what we were doing. We were making sure we had the existing building strapped from the roof line all the way to the foundation. We didn't know the termite damage was so extensive. So the more we strapped and we repaired, the more we started finding more damage. And you're not allowed under the repair to leave that termite damage there. A lot of inspections that we failed in 500 Wisconsin when Vlad was here, when Mundo was here, was because either there was damage that needed to be repaired or addressed, or there were existing straps for the existing 1920 house that needed to be strapped. Every stud needed to be strapped, top, bottom, down to the foundation. So that was required under the repair. I kind of took that learning and that growth into Carolina. So it was not an intentional demolition.
I'm not saying it was an intentional. I'm saying that as a contractor, if you see that type of damage to a structure, you probably should have stopped and at some point with it just being a residential repair and alteration, because obviously nobody wanted you to get hurt.
Yeah,
That,
yes,
obviously.
yes.
But when we got to the point where, you know, you had to do the repairs that you were doing, you were going above and beyond what the scope was. You were supposed to strap, not, I don't know that you were supposed to repair termite damage and do whatever you were doing, but that's where we were. And when we had our meeting, your biggest misunderstanding is that you did think you were gonna have to pay impact fees. And you told us at that point that knowing that there were no impact fees that were due, there was no issue in you getting this permit. And, I mean, I don't know if you deal with the same architects or what, but it just seemed like it took a long process, and I know Alex put a lot of work into this case and did the best that she could diligently to help you through this process.
I could definitely answer the question. I definitely deal with
Don't go
deal with
far.
the-
Stay close because I have questions for you.
I definitely deal with the same architects, because what I went through with Wisconsin and with this property the first time, the architects was the thing that took the longest time, especially in the pandemic when it was hard to just get anyone. So these guys, even with the 6 weeks to do now a new construction plan, because they have to be different from alteration, it was the fastest I could get. Regarding just repairing existing structural termite damage, you know, every framing rough that I failed framing rough 3 times in 500 Wisconsin, and it's because I didn't have the initial existing house strapped and then termite damage repaired. So they're like, Mr. Kip, the new house looks good, the existing house, you've got to take care of this. And so that was really a lot of the, if you will, impetus for me making sure. I said, son, before we do an addition, well, what we've learned from the inspectors, let's make sure we secure and strap down the existing house. And that's where that came from. So.
Okay, so Jack, you were standing up. Did you have something you wanted to say? No. Okay. So I'm hearing mitigating factors today. I don't know if you're hearing mitigating factors today, and that's what I want your impression of. But let me tell you mindset, and Jack, you're welcome to approach too if you have something you want me to hear when I tell you where my head's at. When I heard this case, and it was recent, so I do remember it, I received it as I think it probably as code enforcement presented it, because I think it's how you were seeing it at the time, because we did not have all of this information, at least I did not. And I viewed it as the demolition being the real trigger. And nobody's telling me that it's anything other than it's been described by Mr. Kip, which is they were doing work and it fell. And there's a big difference between I'm doing work, even if, you know, maybe that hammer shouldn't have hit that wall, there's still a big difference between you took that structure down on purpose and you were working on the structure and it fell. That's a big difference for me in the case I heard and what I'm hearing now.
If I could, just from a legal standpoint, my understanding, and thankfully Officer Miller is here to correct me if I stray, but the case was brought to you based upon the respondent having exceeded the scope of work intended on the permit. We understand that.
The demolition was a part of what was presented to me as being exceeding the scope.
The incident of October the 6th was the discovery by Officer Miller of the demolition of the house, accidental or otherwise. That's a fact I don't have any knowledge of in terms of how it came about. However, there was communication between Officer Miller and the owner or the respondent at that time about the necessity of getting the proper permits, and yet on October the 18th, reinspection performed, still work being done and no corrective action taken. So this is a continuous.
Look, you don't have to convince me. There's a gap. There was work going on when work should have stopped. I'm not going to forgive fines, but I also think the fines that have accrued to this point, under the circumstances, are excessive.
What I was going to finish out, I understand that, Your Honor. What I was going to say is that the continuing efforts of the city worked their way well into at least into January of this year, evidenced by the email from building permits on the 27th of January at 11:21 a.m. about having processed your permit application, but we're missing information, and then it lays it out, and also says, and you'll need to complete a demo permit. So there's clearly things that still.
Absolutely, I agree, and I'm not inclined to waive fines.
Understand? Okay.
But I do think a reduction is in order, and now that's what I'm weighing in my head.
That's certainly within your purview. We recognize that. I just
I
wanted to make that
understood.
point.
I just want to get input on that, though, because I agree with everything you said. There was more that he could have done, but at the same time, I'll get to you, Mr. Kipp. At the same time, Mr. Kipp has told me that from the time he talked to Officer Miller, that he was working. He might not have always been doing the right thing, but he was not ignoring code enforcement. And everybody in this room, we deal with so many people that ignore you guys. I have a hard time dropping the hammer on somebody that, look, I might have scolded. I might have said, you need to do better. You need to learn your lessons faster, not take 3 times. But he is learning these lessons, guys. He is. Look, I remember the first time he was before me. But, you know, there has to be some middle on this under the circumstances. And where I'm leaning and why those December dates are important to me is, I think, between October 6th and December 2nd, that meeting, I think it sounds like from yours, I think it lines up with what Mr. Kipp has said, he was getting mixed signals from the city. He's being told one thing by building department, another thing by Officer Miller, and I can't make heads or tails of it. So there's a certain amount of time that ran on this where he's trying to do something. It might not be the right thing. And so that's really what I'm struggling with. Then once the architects are brought on board, you guys see it, I'm sure. Jack, you probably do, whether here or elsewhere. I mean, architects are in short supply right now. You know, it's hard to get one, and once you've got one signed on, it's hard to get your drawings from them. So there's some delay here that I do believe was beyond his control. And again, the threshold for me is when I'm looking at this case, I'm seeing an intentional demolition. And now I'm hearing, and not hearing anybody rebut, that no, this was an accidental demolition. Yes, ma'am.
I don't think whether it was intentional or was an accident, nobody's questioning that, but when your
But in this, it is. That is important to me because this is being brought as a repeat violation.
Okay.
The reason why we backdate fines and we have increased ability to levy fines on a repeat violation is you knew better by now. If it fell accidentally, he didn't take a truck to it and knock it over. He would have known better than to have done that. That's not what happened.
And I understand, but when that happened, he should have stopped and he should have contacted the building department. And then after the fact, when I went back on October 18, he was using some of the old wood, and he told the employees that as long as he uses some of the old wood, he will not need a new permit. So when I finally decided to post the property with the statement of violation, it was after several attempts that failed for him to provide the information that it was needed in order for him to obtain the permit, because, waited that long, he wasn't provided the information that he needed in order to obtain his permit, that it was ready to be obtained.
When did Mr. Kip, come on up, because you're better situated to answer this question anyway. So you tell me what you wanted to say, and then I'll ask you my question.
A couple things. I value, and this is maturity for me. I value what Alex and the team do to keep the city beautiful. So when Alex and I had the first conversation, when she called me, what ended up happening first is my guys that were out there building trusses for the addition, they called me and said, code enforcement just came by. My throat falls into my belly. Next thing, Alex calls me. She said, Mr. Kip, you've exceeded. And Alex actually scolded me a little bit to where, you know, the call got a little emotional for me because the initial thought was that I demolished the property and I've exceeded the scope of the repair. So the scope of the permit. So I said, Alex, I was doing the repair under the scope of the permit. So after we went back and forth, I said, Alex, well, what would you want? What is your advice? What do you want me to do? She said, you need to file an amendment and you need to get this in order. I'm going to give you 7 days. She said, I'm not going to stop you from working, but you have 7 days to get this in order. So I called Bob.
Let me pause you there. So as to your conversation with Mr. Kip, do you remember that conversation the same way he does?
No.
Okay, how do you remember it?
I told them to contact the building department to submit a revision for the addition to the extra work that he did, and he needs to contact the building department because I cannot tell him that he can keep on working.
But you did tell him to seek a revision to the existing permit.
Yes, a revision, yes.
Okay. You can come back up, Mr. Kip.
And this is where this gets really complex because Alex told me to submit the revision. Then when I actually walked the property with Bob told me to do the same thing. But my clarity is, what did I need to tell the architect? Because I was telling the architect what happened. He's like, I asked the building official to tell me what he wants. So once I got the architect to make the revision,
you don't have to tell me the back and forth.
Sure. Yes,
I've got a clear picture of it.
Yes, sir.
Now it's just trying to come to fairness.
Understood.
When did this back to the question I wanted to ask you, Mr.
Yes.
Kip? When did the portion of the house fall? Do you remember the date or approximate date?
The portion of the house fell, I believe, September. I put it on here. I want to say September 26. I had to go back and look at the pictures as I was writing the.
So once that happens, what happens to? Was code enforcement has said that you should have reached out to building department, and was there any reach out to building department to let the building department know what had happened?
No, sir. For the first few days, I was really just, I really just stepped away.
But work continued.
Work continued on the trusses, not on the building itself.
Okay. So there was no work being done to the building.
There was no work being done to the building.
When did
at
work
that
on the
point.
building resume?
Work resumed on the building, I would say, within about 5 days. And that's where I tried to basically recollect and restore the initial footprint that fell down. Shortly after that, I got the call from Alex.
Okay. Let me pause. Jack, what you got for me?
I'll provide a summation from the city's standpoint once you
Okay.
get the fact.
Anything else, Mr. Kip?
I would say this. I highlighted this. From the time Alex called me up until the time that I was able to meet with Bob, get revised plans submitted for the revision, it was a 31-day window. I moved very, very diligently once Alex made the phone call to me. In my earlier immaturity, when I've stood before you before, I don't know that I had that gravity or.
So you have. I'm not.
Right, sure.
I'm not making it up when I say I see you learning.
Sure.
You speak with a much greater understanding of the work you are doing.
Yes, sir. I think that's all I would.
I do
would
see
have
that.
To say.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Jack.
Really, just to provide a little bit of context for the benefit of the magistrate, my understanding is that the city manager did meet with the building official with regard to the proposal from the respondent, and ultimately made the decision based upon, in part, that meeting, to decline the offer made by the respondent here to resolve
And I don't blame anybody
So-
for declining the offer made,
No, I
because the
understand.
offer made.
But I think that that lends some indirect context to the discussions with the building official and the city manager's
It does, but I also
perspective.
remember, I've already heard the testimony of the code enforcement
Correct.
director that the city manager asked her for her opinion, and she said no. So it sounds like she called that shot.
But I guess my point is that the very unfortunate mishap that was a danger to Mr. Kipp is in and of itself a bit of a reminder of what exactly
And that's
the
really,
city's
that's
seeking.
where my focus is on that point.
Unquestionably. And then there's been factual disagreement between Officer Miller and Mr. Kippen with regard to the later in October communications. But we do have email confirmations in January of deficiencies that would still need to be followed up on, and a demo permit and provided with direction. And yet those actions were not readily taken to comply with what the city was seeking and imploring the respondent to achieve. So certainly I understand that this is within the discretion of the magistrate, but based upon the offer presented by the respondent, it's understandable that the city manager was not entertaining the offer of essentially nothing other than the costs.
No disagreement from me on that
And leaving
point.
to your good hands, capable hands, the proper amount to be reduced, if any. So we'll leave it at that. You've certainly obtained the facts that we think are relevant, but we do think that we want to emphasize, and with the good spirit that Mr. Kipp has presented, certainly we understand that. We appreciate the sincerity, but the safety issues and the city's responsibility, if you will, to make sure everyone is safe, we need to sometimes keep people in line with regard to a consequence in the event that they continue, for whatever reason, even at times maybe unintentionally or without lack of full organization, to meet the compliance that's been directed. And so we think that a fine reduction would be tempered by some of the facts the city's presented with regard to those concerns the city's had. And leaving to you the amount, but I think.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Right, I understand, but I certainly think that it's been established through the testimony that certainly into the early portion of 2023, the city was working with a respondent who was, for whatever reason, not able to come into compliance.
Right, but understand, from my perspective, I hear the city working with the respondent, absolutely. But I also hear the respondent trying to work with the city.
Understand.
And that's, from my, in all my time of doing this, and it's why I made that point earlier, is we're so used to people who ignore code enforcement.
No.
Mr. Kipp was not
Yes.
doing that. He was trying to comply, and even if, he wasn't getting it right, or if there were things he could have done more quickly, I have a very hard time, again, dropping the hammer on somebody that is making that much effort. So
Completely
it's
recognize
I tend to focus more in these questions on the effort is more important to me than getting it right. Getting it right obviously is important eventually too, but that much effort, that's what's pushing that, and the other circumstances are
Completely
pushing me towards
recognize
the
it, and
reduction is in order.
And I'll let you deliberate. I just want to emphasize the fact that in part it's been confirmed that there was a motivation, a financial motivation with regard to the issue of the impact fees, which did complicate the compliance timeframe, which I think should be considered as part of what ultimately led to some of the delay. And that may be more reflective of someone's intentions as opposed to any assertions made at a hearing such as this. So.
You can have the last word. Go ahead, but it's the last word.
First time a disaster of this type has ever happened in my life. Of a surety, the financial motivation of impact fees was not a motivating factor. I legit wanted to ensure that I was in compliance and did what was right. And so, Alex's recommendation of getting a revision, and then Bob's, after walking the property with me and recommending getting a revision, paying the financial costs, of excess of 3,000 to get the revision, to then send in the revision and here your permit is revoked, you have to get a new permit. That is when the cost actually came into purview to do a new construction permit versus the revision which the building official had recommended I take before. So it definitely wasn't it was the spirit behind why I really requested the meeting when I got the call in Jamaica to say, well, maybe there is some clarity. I'm learning better how to navigate the building department, but there is a lack of clarity that I did not have, which is why I requested the earliest meeting I could post Thanksgiving to meet with the building official and code enforcement to get a meeting of the minds so I could understand. So.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Just stay there because I'm going to have some questions for you on timing.
Yes, sir.
So I'm inclined to reduce. I've been racking my brains trying to figure out a metric to use. My issue, and this is just going to have to be another one to chalk up to learning, is when that portion of that structure collapsed on top of you, and look, in that moment and the days that followed, I can't fault you if your head was in other places. Don't know if it was or wasn't. Wouldn't blame you if it was.
Sure.
But the fact that 5 days after a portion of the building collapses on you, work starts back at that building without any communication with building department. That's the troublesome part to me in hearing this as an outside observer. And so this is the lesson I want you to take away from this hearing, is that happens again, soon as you're able to, or your son or somebody else, whoever takes charge of that job once you're kind of unable to do it for a little bit, first call needs to be made to building department. This is what happened, because had you made that call, I think a lot of the things that got drug out here and caused a bunch of confusion probably could have been better dealt with. But the reason why it's concerning to me is because structure falls on you, and then workers go back and start working on that building again. More could have fallen, and it's important at that point that everybody stop, take a step back, get building department out there, everybody assess. And so that's the lesson I want you to take away for that, and the cost of that lesson, and then how I get there is I'm going to reduce to $3,000, and how I arrive at $3,000 is it's basically that time that the work was going on before the conversation started, and it was the city that instituted those conversations. It's because you were contacted by code enforcement, plus administrative costs. Yes, it also includes the administrative, so it'd be $3,000 plus the $256.70. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But the fine, $3,000, and it's city that starts the conversation, and that's when you get the ball rolling. And that's why I'm giving this reduction, one, because it's a little bit different case than I saw when I first saw it, because it sounds like an accidental collapse. But two, I can't fault you for your effort, sure. And I appreciate and respect the effort. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I will approve a fine of $3,000. I would say typically it would be 30 days. I'm inclined to say $3,000 within 30 days because that is a significant, but if you tell me there's some financial hardship that's going to make it impossible to pay within 30 days, let me know now.
No, sir.
They can't close.
So they're going to pay it as soon as possible.
Because you have a closing, correct?
When is your closing set for?
I pushed it to next month. I don't know what they're going to
Okay.
they're
The
gonna do.
only reason I
No
asked that
problem.
question is because if you told me it's on Monday, then I need to get this order done for Claudia tomorrow.
I
So
think if we get the order done sooner than later, I can
No,
see
it'll
if
be
they
done
can bring
it'll be done by the first half of next week.
No
just
problem.
Depending on how my Thursdays and Fridays go. Sometimes I get them done before the end of the week. Sometimes I get them done the early part of the next week. But yeah, next month, no issues.
Drew, I appreciate the mercy. I want to
It's
say
not mercy.
well,
It's trying to find fairness.
sure, I agree, and I want to say I'm thankful to Alex, Miss Pam as well. I am not the same contractor that the house fell on of a surety, and it has definitely raised a level of safety awareness, protocol awareness going through training, I almost walked away from the business altogether. But I believe that I'm called to do it, and I'll do it responsibly in a way that honors all of the existing code and the handbook. So,
And remember that a big part of the reason why all these codes exist is to keep people safe. It's
Sure.
So things like this don't happen.
agreed. Yep, agreed. Thank you. Anything else, or?
No, you're excused. Thank you very much.
Case number 2022-1768, Progress Residential Borrower 20 LLC, owner, location of violation 2962 Tinkimber Way, St. Cloud, Florida.
Jack Morrison for the city. Respondent and city manager have come to an accord on this matter for a reduction down to $2,529.78 from $11,729.78 if paid within time prescribed in the settlement agreement, which I'm looking for here,
I have it in front of me.
and I don't.
Which need?
Well, I'm just looking at if paid within 30 days of the
Six-
magistrate.
I have 6
Paid
months.
within 6 months, I found it, yes. So if paid within 6 months of the magistrate order, it reverts to the original amount. If not, paid within that 6-month period of time.
I'll approve it, but I'm also going to make a point. Progress Residential, in all their iterations, has had a lot of cases in front of me. They have never been here. They have had multiple reductions. And I did not hear the same for Progress Residential that I heard at the outset for Mr. Kipp.
I'm not sure. if that's
Progress,
correct.
see, when it comes to Progress Residential, and lots of theirs don't come on repeats because of their corporate setup. And my annoyance is not at code enforcement. My annoyance really is at Progress Residential.
I think this is our first reduction.
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah, I've never had a.
They've had a lot of cases before us.
This is the first time they've asked for a reduction? Okay. Then I'll withdraw what I said. But my frustration for things like Progress Residential, where they have at least 20 different iterations, and
no doubt.
most of them have had a case before me,
Yes.
and they have never shown up, they have never responded to you guys. This is what I say in Mr. Kipp's hearing, these are the ones that really get to me. So I will approve this, I will approve the reduction, but this one is harder for me in a way than his was.
Understood. That we can certainly, we'll take
No,
that
no,
sentiment.
I'm not telling you to do anything different. I'm just expressing my
It'll
frustration.
just be a point of discussion.
Really at
I'm
Progress
sure.
Residential.
Sure, yeah, the principles
Because almost
behind it.
every month they have a case in front of
Yeah.
in front of me.
Yep.
Can I ask the amount again? I'm sorry, 2,500 what?
Well,
I got it. It's $2,529.78, and that's inclusive of costs.
Yes. The original, what was accrued fine of $11,500 with administrative cost of $229.78 for a total of $11,729.78. So,
Yeah, I'm not
So we got-
fussing at you guys. I'm not telling you to do anything differently. I'm just expressing my frustration is that organizations like Progress Residential, I mean, they do this. And I'm sure that St. Cloud, and the only place they're getting hauled in front of code enforcement, not showing up, doing their, getting their houses built, getting them under contract, and then coming and asking for reductions. And that is the game that they play. But it's stark to me, for all of his flaws, he tries, Mr. Kipp. And it's that effort that makes such a big difference to me. Okay, I'll deal with that in a second. That makes such a big difference to me when I look at when my next case is one that has had so many and never shown up, never reached out to you guys, never done anything other than whatever it is they do. And it's just frustrating to me. So the clerk has pointed out that she thinks the 6 months in the agreement is an error. If the city would like me to approve, subject to payment in 30 days, I'm happy to do that. I don't know what the city manager's inclination was, though. It is very possible, because I know that they had made the modification for probably the last one they did right before
Right.
that when they made the modification to 6 months. So it probably is an error.
Yeah.
I have no knowledge of that, so I would I would suggest that we amend that and agree to the.
Well, I don't have to follow the agreement, that's what I'm saying, so I
Sure.
can make it 30
Within-
days.
Within 30 days, yes, I think that
And,
that
and
would
if
be.
there's a need to correct that, then it can come back.
Correct.
So I'll amend
Yes,
my
sir,
order
that-
to 30 days.
That would be preferable, thank you. Yep.
Anything else from the city? Code enforcement, good? Clerk?
I know the clerk had a question about June of '24, correct?
Yes, so the meeting falls on June 19th, which is Juneteenth, and we're closed for the conceptual calendar for 2024, so I was gonna ask what y'all suggest. If maybe doing it the week before, which would be June 12th.
12.
I'm open on the 12th.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Exactly. It'll be a Wednesday.
If you're not out on the road investigating cases, you're here presenting them. I know how that works.
It'll be a Wednesday, so.
Yes.
It'll just be the second Wednesday as opposed to the third Wednesday of June. Okay.
Will you send me an email so I can just forward it to your calendar? And our next hearing is when?
November 15th, 2023, and we do not have one in December.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.